Have you ever noticed something strange? You can spend an entire day around people. Go to work, sit in class, laugh with your friends, answer text messages, scroll through hundreds of social media posts, even eat dinner with your family. And somehow, when the day is over, you still feel completely alone. Not physically alone, emotionally alone. It's a strange kind of loneliness because you're surrounded by voices, yet somehow nobody really hears yours. You're surrounded by faces, but you don't feel truly seen. You begin asking yourself questions that are hard to explain. Why do I still feel empty? Why doesn't being around people fix this? What's wrong with me? If you've ever asked those questions, you're far from alone. In fact, millions of people silently carry this exact feeling every single day. And here's the surprising part. Loneliness has very little to do with how many people are around you. It has everything to do with whether you feel deeply known. Most people think loneliness means being by yourself. Psychology says something very different. Researchers have discovered that loneliness isn't simply the absence of people, it's the absence of meaningful connection. Those are not the same thing. You can be alone and feel completely at peace. Or you can stand in the middle of a crowded room and feel invisible. Think about the last time someone asked, "How are you?" You probably answered, "I'm good." But were you? Or was that simply the safest answer? Most of us have become experts at having conversations without actually letting people know what's happening inside us. We talk about work, sports, movies, weather, school, politics, everything except the things our hearts are actually carrying. Because being seen is wonderful, but being truly known feels risky. What if they judge me? What if they don't understand? What if they leave? So we slowly build walls. Not because we want to keep people out, but because we're trying to protect ourselves. The tragedy is, the same walls that protect us from rejection also prevent real connection. Psychologists call this emotional isolation. It's possible to spend years surrounded by people while hiding the real version of yourself from every one of them. Eventually, people know your personality, but nobody knows your heart, and that's one of the loneliest places a human being can live. Here's something fascinating about your brain. Human beings weren't designed merely to survive. We were designed to belong. From the very beginning of history, connection meant survival. Your brain still carries that wiring today. That's why rejection hurts so much. Studies have shown that social rejection activates many of the same brain regions as physical pain. Think about that. Your brain literally experiences emotional rejection as something physically threatening. No wonder loneliness feels so heavy. But here's where things become even deeper. Sometimes the person making you feel lonely isn't other people, it's you. Because every time you convince yourself, nobody would understand, nobody actually cares, I'll deal with this myself, you unknowingly move one step farther away from the connection you're longing for. Loneliness grows best in silence. Not because silence is evil, but because silence allows lies to sound like truth. Then social media enters the picture. You open your phone hoping to feel connected. Instead, you see vacations, perfect families, engagement photos, career promotions, birthday parties, smiling faces, perfect lives. Your brain quietly reaches one dangerous conclusion. Everyone belongs somewhere except me. But remember, you're comparing your private life to everyone else's highlight reel. That's never a fair comparison. Now here's something incredible. Long before psychology studied loneliness, the Bible talked about it. One of the very first things God ever said wasn't about sin. It wasn't about success. It wasn't about money. It was this: it is not good for man to be alone. Notice something important. Adam was living in a perfect world. No suffering, no sickness, no death, no brokenness. Yet God still said something was missing. Why? Because humans were created for relationship, not just with people, but with God. That explains something many people spend years trying to understand. Sometimes, the deepest loneliness isn't caused by missing people, it's caused by missing purpose. You can fill your calendar, fill your house, fill your phone, fill your schedule, and still feel empty. Because purpose cannot be replaced by busyness. Think about Jesus. Crowds followed him everywhere, thousands listened to him, people constantly surrounded him. Yet there were moments when he intentionally walked away from the crowds to be alone with his Father. Why? Because being surrounded by people isn't the same as being filled. Jesus understood something we often forget. Connection with God isn't an escape from relationships. It's the foundation for healthy relationships. When your identity comes from people, loneliness becomes terrifying because people leave, people disappoint, people misunderstand. But when your identity comes from God, you stop asking people to carry a weight they were never created to carry. They become companions, not your source of worth. Here's another truth we rarely talk about. Real connection begins the moment perfection ends. The day you stop pretending everything is okay is often the day genuine relationships begin. Because people don't connect through perfection. They connect through honesty. That's why vulnerability feels so uncomfortable. But it's also why it creates trust. Imagine two bridges. One is built from image, the other is built from honesty. Only one of them can actually carry the weight of real friendship. So what should you do if you feel lonely? First, stop assuming loneliness means nobody loves you. Sometimes it simply means your heart is asking for deeper connection. Second, take one small risk. Instead of saying, "I'm fine," tell one trusted person how you're actually doing. Not everyone deserves your vulnerability, but someone does. Third, spend quiet time with God. Not because it instantly removes loneliness, but because it reminds you that you were never abandoned in the first place. Even when everyone else misunderstands you, God never does. Even when nobody notices your tears, God does. Even when you feel forgotten, He hasn't forgotten you. Imagine waking up tomorrow without feeling like you have to earn belonging. Imagine walking into a room knowing your value isn't determined by whether people notice you. Imagine discovering that being known by God is the beginning of truly knowing yourself. Because that's the kind of loneliness that begins to disappear. Not when more people enter your life, but when truth enters your heart. If this message encouraged you, I'd love to ask you one question. When do you feel the loneliest? You don't have to explain everything. Just finish this sentence. I feel lonely when. Your honesty might remind someone else that they're not the only one feeling this way. And if you enjoy videos that connect psychology, everyday life, and timeless biblical wisdom, consider subscribing. Until next time, remember this simple truth: you can be surrounded by people and still feel alone. But if you are known by God, you are never truly alone.